Hi, today I'm with Paula Stone, and she is the other administrator in my Enrichment Games for High Energy Dogs Facebook group. Hi, Paula. How are you today?
Hi, Barb. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Just fine. So I want to start out by asking you how you got into dogs and dog training. And I guess I've really never heard that story, so I'm interested to know.
Well, it's a long story. I'll
Most
keep
of
it.
them are.
I always wanted a dog as a kid, and I spent many years hassling my parents until finally, at the age of 13, we took on a German Shepherd called Meg, who went everywhere with me. And obviously, when I left home at 17, the first thing I did was get a dog. So I got my first puppy in 1995. And I raised her, and I thought I knew everything about dogs because she was great. But actually, what I've learned since is she was a really great dog, and she really helped me a lot. While I had Shona, I had other dogs, but it was when I got Miko, my husky collie rescue, who was 2 approximately when I got her, a former street dog, that I realized I didn't have a clue about dogs and I needed some help. So that's when I got into dog training, and it was very different back then. But I blindly went for many, many, many years until I found a really good trainer. Upon which time it took 6 months for Miko to get her gold Kennel Club award. So, and that was me hooked then. So I got the bug, and when I got my lurcher Lenny, that's when we ended up finding a really nice club to train with in Leeds in West Yorkshire. And they had me on work placement voluntary for 3 years while I studied to become a trainer, and that's what I did when I changed my jobs. So that I think I qualified. Well, I got my full membership in 2019, but I started studying in 2016. So it took 3 years, 3 different levels until I got to where I am now.
What is work placement exactly?
Well, you can I mean, it's not something you need to do, but for me, I always thought before I go and study, I really want to know the ropes. I want to be good because it's very practical, is dog training. And although I'd been going for many years, I was quite conscious of the fact that it wasn't of the same quality of training that I wanted to deliver some of that. So I wanted to go and immerse myself in it as much as I could and help learn the craft before I even studied. So I did that for 3 years with tail waggers, and then I went into the association for my training.
Oh, that's very cool. So today you're going to talk about searchy, do you call it, or searching, and why it's helpful. And so as enrichment. So the floor is yours.
Well, I'm a pet dog trainer. I train 6 days a week, and most of the dogs, in fact, I haven't met one that hasn't actually, that I work with, and including my own dogs, all benefit from having scent work in their lives. I mean, they're built to scent and find things, aren't they? So it seems a bit crackers when they've got this amazing piece of kit, which is their nose, that we spend half our time saying, leave that scent alone, and pulling them off, when
Exactly.
actually, if we gave them an outlet for it, it could really help. So I use it in lots of different regards in work, really. But one of the main reasons for teaching it really is, for me, it really helps the dogs to get balanced, to be calmer. And so well, I've got 2 working collies who look like this most of the time, and now I've got 2 of them. One was strong enough. Now I've got 2 of them. Bringing more things into their life that enriches them but also tires them out in a good way has been really important. So I've been bringing that much more in with my colleagues. For my clients that I work with, I think it can really help increase connection while they're on a walk, because a lot of the time people aren't really aware of the fact that their dog's having its own walk while you follow behind on your phone. Just like, whereas if you were like doing some work together on the walk, dog's already going to have better connection with you, which again is going to help with your lead work and your recall and all of those things. So in terms of connected walks, it's really helpful. But on that vein as well, I think it helps to promote more of a working relationship with the handler, rather than a person who's just with their dog. We're actually doing some stuff together, and a lot of these dogs really keen for that, aren't they? And if we don't help them find a job, they're going to go find their own job, which is normally not something we'd like them to do. Let's face it, that's the chasing squirrels and various other things. But yeah, I mean, it's so versatile. It's useful for so many things. I'm thinking like emergency situations. If your dog knows the cue, find it, and that cue means get your nose down and start searching. Well, you can use that when something's passing, which will help prevent problems. It might not cure the fact they were going to react to it or chase it. We'd need to do other training for that. But if you're in a sticky wicket and they're really close and it's not a training setup, you're going to have to manage that. And I think scent work is a really good way of managing quite a lot of different behaviours. But again, you know, reactive dogs, a dog that's stressed or a dog that's reactive is going to be in sort of fight or flight, be quite wound up, be quite stressed. Scent work in their life, away from all the stressors, can help balance that, help bring them down, help calm them. But then again, you can use it for management as well. If something's passing at a distance and you get that dog scenting, you've just given that dog something to do that means they don't have to be doing the other thing. So yeah, that's a lot of the ways I use it in the work that I do currently, but also in class. You know, I say to people, if I'm teaching you something and you're just like listening to me like that, your dog's going to be there thinking, what am I doing? It might start doing other things like staring at the other dogs in class, and then you've got a few seconds before the barking starts, and then you have to be reactive to the barking. So it can really prevent problems in that regard as well.
Yeah, I use it with my border collie, because if we're herding and he starts taking treats really hard, if I'm using treats, or if I'm not, which I'm usually not, but I see his right rear foot starts to bounce, I know he's getting very aroused. So I will just do a scatter in the grass just to allow him to relax a little bit and to break kind of the whole arousal, you know, mode, and bring him down just a little bit. I know it's not going to take him from up here down to here, but you know, if I can take him just a little ways and get him kind of hooked into me a little bit, and there's no way that I'm going to break that connection that he has with the stock. But if I can just weaken it just a teeny tiny bit so that he can kind of control himself a little better and bring his arousal down just a tiny bit, I figure it can't hurt. You know, maybe it isn't the best thing, and maybe it gives me time to think and relax a little bit just while he's sniffing around. So I think there are a lot of uses for it. And as you said, instead of using it as, I mean, the dog's going to do it. And instead of always telling them, don't do that, you know, leave that, then you're just setting them up for, you know, allowing them to use that, like I said, that it's so strong. And I think too, a lot of times we don't realize, like, we don't understand. We'll be doing something with our dog and they act a certain way, and we're like, well, why'd they do that? That, you know, there's nothing in the environment, but you know, they're reacting to something maybe they smell or something they hear that we don't. And we're just like, you know, we're clueless, but you know, it's very real to them. And there's, you know, there is a good reason for it. It's not just, oh, they're just acting kind of a little nutty right now. So I think it's great, and it's so easy to set up. I mean, you don't have to be at a high level to have your dog find things, you know, or throw treats in the grass, or I put them under leaves or something, and immediately the dog's got it. Okay, I'm after this. And so it doesn't have to be a highly structured activity either. So
But it
go ahead.
costs much either. You don't actually have to spend a lot of money on this. You know, you could use one of those snuffle mat type things, but you could use a grass. You don't need to be using those. You can use upturned items, things like that, that you already have kicking about. So it doesn't have to cost a lot either.
And you can hide treats around your house, and then there's not much cleanup. That's what I like. It's like if you use, you know, a snuffle mat or something, or a lick mat, or, you know, a lot of things, and they're all fine. but then there's the preparation and the cleanup. But this, it's, it's so simple, so easy. And I think it's so valuable for the dog. Like you said, I think it really engages them in something that they love to do, because the world is, to us, it's sight, but to them, excuse me, it's sight and smell is a huge, huge part of it. So, and, sound too. They're just so much better. Their senses are so much more keen than ours are. So what type of games do you play with your dogs or your clients' dogs, any dogs?
Well, from the first thing I've got to do really is teach them the cue, find it, because I think sometimes when I work with people, they've already started some work, but when they say the cue, find it, the dog sort of starts going, wow, sort of running around, sort of a bit aimlessly. Oh, look, there's a treat, and sort of grabs the treat, and then it runs around aimlessly, and they're going, find it, find it, find it, and then oh, look, there's a treat.
Yeah.
So sometimes it can be a bit haphazard. So although it's quite a basic thing, and I think we're going to share a clip of it in a minute, I like when I say find it for the dog to go dush with its nose and start searching, so that I say, that develop that trust that when I say find it, there's something out there for you. Otherwise, if you start doing it too big, the dog's just running around, then you're repeating the cue, then the dog might start going, oh, I have no idea what, so it just makes it a bit more succinct. So that's what I teach first, and it's really simple to do that. We'll be showing that in a bit, just teaching them the cue so that they learn to go down and search. And once they've done that, I start to add some distance. Not too much, because if you add too much distance too quick, again, the dog can keep coming back to you for help, as if to say, I don't know, because they're sort of learning to trust their own nose. Am I getting nearer? Oh, what's that? They're learning sort of, I'm closer to the treat or I'm further away. So if we spread it out really far, really quick, again, they tend to amble around really fast like that. Oh, help me, help me. I want them just to go out, get the nose down, hear their own nose and find the thing that they want. And once I've got that, you can sort of do lots of other things. I think you can use scent tins, and then if you wanted, you could put an indication on that. And I just show in the clip, there's going to be one soon of Ragnar just having his first go at touching a scent tin. For my two, something that's really important is impulse control. So I like to work some of that into it once they've got the find it cue. So I like to get them to wait while I place the food out, and then I'll send them onto it. So they're doing the scent work still, but also they're doing the impulse control side of it, which I don't have at the beginning because I like them just to go to work really quick. I'm going to work.
Right.
And then finally, you can get them to find things, specific things. So it doesn't have to be about food. And in fact, Aria's favourite is to find her mouse. If mouse comes out, her whole face is like, mouse. Knows what the job is when mouse is out as well, because we only do find it with mouse. So she knows if she sees mouse that mouse is going to be out there somewhere in the environment, and she has to search, and she will search now until she finds this little mouse. But again, I didn't start it off like that, otherwise she'd have kept coming back and circling around. I started it off really small, then I built the distance up, and then I spread it out a bit more. But she'll happily search for 10 minutes for her little mouse now.
Wow.
Back, yeah.
Well, I love how you build it, because we really, when we're doing enrichment or any training, we want to be as clear in our communication, and we don't want to frustrate our dogs. So, that's going to build an arousal that you don't want. You want them more focused and calm and more workmanlike, and not, scatterbrained and feeling frustrated. So I really like how you set that up. Like I said, for all training, I think that's you went through the exact steps that you use in pretty much any training to I think have clear communication that makes a successful training time or learning time, and I think that builds the relationship with the dog and you, because you're working together, you're setting up the parameters that are clear, and then I think your dog starts to trust you, and as they go farther, they trust, that it's out there. You don't go out and act like you're hiding mouse and not hide mouse. She's going to find mouse eventually, and So you would never want to do that, never act like, oh, I'm hiding her, but she isn't out there, because you want her, you know, she might have to work hard for it, but she's, you know, that has to have an end of reinforcement, or, you know, what's the point of all that work?
Yeah, certainly when I'm training it, because I'm a pet dog trainer, I'm not a specialist scent work trainer. I'm sure if you were doing it as a job, they would have some blind searches and things like that, but that's not what I'm doing here. So the minute she's seen the mouse, she knows that the mouse is out there. She just needs to keep searching for it. But it is important to pitch it correctly, because not only does your dog get frustrated if you make it too hard too quick, but then you'll get frustrated maybe that they're not doing the job, and then that trust is it's eroded, isn't it, between the
Yes.
two? It's a lot easier to just take it at the steps the dog can cope with, so that they go and do the job well.
Yep. So are we ready to watch the clip?
Yeah, let's watch a clip.
Okay, let me pull it up.
Find it! Find it! Find it! Find it! Steady. Find it! Find it? Yes. Good boy. Find it? Yes. Right. Find it. Wait. Find it. Find us. Yes, good girl. Thank you. Good girl. Fine.
That was great. I love that you showed how you have her weight, and then when you had it so you could see where she actually found it, that was very cool. But and showing how you start. And what I liked about with Ragnar was you did it and you threw some out and had him get it, and then you started throwing some out while he was on the other side of you, but then you stopped. You didn't just keep going back and forth. You kind of took a little pause there, which I thought was wonderful, because otherwise then he just starts automatically going. You know, he doesn't wait for you to tell him, hey, go. He's like, oh, I just go here, 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 back and forth. And he would be, I mean, as a border collie, he would pick up that pattern really fast. And, you know, as fast as you could throw treats out, he'd be running back and forth to grab them. But
Yeah, and I kind of like to get that calm behavior in between as well, just so we can both pause and think about what's just happened. you know. Getting him to pause is quite important at the moment. He's quite full on.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think he looked great, and you can tell how much Arya loved the hunting for mouse. And when she found it, it was like she was so excited, and you could see she was using her nose. She wasn't just using her eyes. I mean, she went around. Of course, she's using her eyes, but you could see she was kind of sniffing. Could it be somewhere back in where I can't see it? Because I'm sure you've hidden it where. Even if she walked by, she couldn't see it, but she'd have to smell it. So, I mean, she knew the game. She knew what was going to happen. And I love too, people are always saying, oh, what can I do where I don't have to use treats for enrichment? Because, so much are, oh, have a treat ball, have a lick mat, have a puzzle. And it's mostly treat based. And they're like, what do I do that doesn't involve treats? And you're showing, yeah, we start with treats, but eventually, she looks very satisfied finding mouse with no treats involved.
Yeah, and I mean, that mouse didn't have that value to her when I first introduced the mouse. The mouse was the mouse, but the tug I'd built a lot of value in. And using the thing that your dog values is really important, isn't it? So once she'd paired finding the mouse with playing the tug, the mouse's value went right up, and there was no way she wasn't going to find it. I think also you brought it up there a bit about how she was definitely using her nose. People need to know as well that might look a bit different depending on which breed of dog you've got, wouldn't it? Because some dogs get their noses right down, and you can really, really hear that. Now,
Yeah.
Aria, quite upright. She's not got her nose right to the ground, but she's doing the same work.
Yeah, no, I thought that was a great video. And I said, I think for people who are always asking, what can I do for enrichment that isn't treat based, that gives them something to build into it. And you could, put that mouse outside on a walk or in your house, out on your porch. I mean, you could just have it about anywhere. And have you ever done it where she doesn't watch you hide it and you just tell her to go look for it?
I've done it where she can't see where I've gone, but she's always been there. Yeah, I've not kept her indoors, hidden the mouse, and then do it. That's something I could do, actually. That's a good idea. Yeah, I normally do in the wait because I kind of like the wait bit, but that would be a good way to progress it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but what I was thinking is like that where she was waiting, but she couldn't see you, so
Yeah.
no, because watching you, she gets some idea. And like you said, I think that would be an intermediate step because she sees you and then all of a sudden she goes there and she's scenting, but then she knows. I think it's a nice clue for her, but eventually, like you said, she could be sitting there where she couldn't see you, even in the same room, kind of a blind, or like I said, she could be outside and just come in and say, find it. And that would be interesting to watch, because even if she's in a blind, she hears you, she knows where you've, what direction you've headed, where if she were outside. So if you do that sometime, maybe you can pop a video into the group just to see.
I'll make a note of that. I'll make a video of that. Something that I do with the dogs sometimes is, and this is, you've sort of mentioned it briefly there, is if you're walking along somewhere and you've got something sneakily hidden in your back pocket that they don't know you've got, and you drop it as you're walking forward and the dogs are mooching, they don't even know, then you can send them backwards. So that's kind of similar to that as well, because they know, but then they learn that when you ask them for something, it's there. I need to listen to my
Yes.
yeah, found the ball or I found the mouse. And I much prefer to play finding the toys than chasing the toys, especially with my two, because the more chase they do, the more nuts they get.
Yes, yes. And so this way, if they have to use their nose, they're not just blindly chasing, they're using their eyes and they want to stop that movement, and they can do it really fast, where if they're scenting, they have to follow that scent. They have to engage their, more than their eyes. And so they can't just blindly run like chasing a ball, which I don't advocate for people to do very often, because it just the dog get too manic, and I think it's hard on them if it wears them out, but I don't think it really challenges them mentally. It's more of a physical thing. And, then the problem I've found is, and that people have told me is, they were told, oh, this gal told me about her dog and it was young and, just 2 years old. And so she was having trouble. The dog wouldn't relax. And so people told her to, throw the ball more because she played fetch with her dog. Well, so she did. And then, that helped a little bit, but then it started having the same problems relaxing. So they told her to throw it more. And she said, all she ended up doing was creating this tremendous athlete that she couldn't wear out because, she did it so often. And so I think other enrichment games where you're tapping into different abilities of the dog is really the way we want to head, especially with these high energy dogs that you just can't seem to wear them out just by physically running them, and it's too hard on their bodies anyhow. It's really not a good situation. So
I mean, that last bit where Aria's finding her mouse, I refilmed that just a couple of days ago because I didn't like the first version of it. I was like, I'm going to refilm it and do it from different angles. And I think she must have done one take, right? And I got her home, she ate her dinner and she went, whoa, what's wrong with her? Is she poorly? So, actually it can really, really help take the edge off them. If I'd been ball chucking for 10 minutes, she might have collapsed in a heap, but as soon as she woke up from it, she'd have been bouncing off the walls. Whereas this, she was nice and calm.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I think it's a very cool. And I love how you've shown the steps. And, I assume like if you were doing that with let's say you had a toy that you had hidden, that the first time you did it, you probably only went like 10 feet before you sent the dogs back to it because, you want them to probably see it the first time and know it's there. And then you can start maybe, putting it in the grass where they can't see it. But they go back and then they find it and start realizing it is going to be there. And it's just a matter of, maybe searching out where it's going to be, maybe toss it off to the side just a little bit so that when they look back, they don't see it. But, when they get back there, it's easy to find.
Yeah, exactly that. I start them all indoors as well, where it's a bit easier, but I don't even hide it. I just hold the dog, or the dog stays in a weight, and you throw it out when it's still, then send them, and then get it where you just tuck it so its head's sticking out from behind the chair, but they can still see it, and then you just gradually make it harder and harder, and then progress to outdoors.
Yeah. It sounds like a lot of fun. Anything else like you want to talk about how this has helped another dog?
Yeah, I can think of one rather lovely dog that I've done a lot of work with over the last year, whose handler, she might be listening to this, she'll know she is, whose handler got in touch with me because she'd had a prolonged issue. It was a mini schnauzer, highly barking a lot on walks at everything, people, dogs, whatever. And she wondered, as it had been going on for such a long time, was there anything that we could do? So, I gave her realistic expectations, but I said there's always room for improvement. And we used scent work as quite a big part of her plan. And I met her a few months ago to go out on a walk. And yes, the dog still gets a bit like this when he sees things. But she's able to keep him a lot calmer now through connecting with him, doing scent work. She now knows how to train him not to do that behavior in the first place and how to get him to habituate to those things. And she knows how to bring him out of it without pulling on the lead or telling him off. But the scent work, I think, has been a game changer for that dog because it's just helped him to just come down that bit like you talked about earlier enough. If you can just bring them down that little bit so that they can hear the cue.
Yeah.
But when they're up there, they just can't hear the cue sometimes, and that's not their fault. So knowing what to use and when is really helpful. And I think scent work can be really beneficial to those dogs who struggle to cope.
That's great. Tell us the name of your facility or what you call yourself and how people can get a hold of you if they're interested.
So I run Bronte Canine Dog Training. We're based in West Yorkshire, that's in England. And I've got a training centre there in Denholm. You can find me through the website. The website's actually called Bronte Canine Services. and you can find me on Instagram, Bronte Canine Dog Training. I have got a TikTok, but I haven't done loads on it. And the Facebook page is probably where I use that the most, because it's probably my generation.
It's really been a pleasure talking with you today, and I'm sure if people have any questions, I'm going to have them ask them in the comments, any questions about what we talked about today, and I'll let you answer them because you know a lot more about this than I do. So
Well, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to being a bit more active in the group over the coming months as well.
well, thank you, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye now.